area code 216-298-1554. Again, I say area code 216-298-1554. I have a question to you all out there in TV land. This coronavirus, it came on us suddenly, and it's like it's spiraling out of control, the things that they're having us to do. I would like to ask you all to please consider calling in, letting us know how this is affecting you personally, your home, your job. So Gregory, I'm gonna ask you this question. How does it affect you at home right now?
Coronavirus is affecting all of us in Ohio who got kids because the schools are shut down. My wife works at Cleveland State. They're not doing
the college?
Yeah, Cleveland State is pretty much only doing online stuff, so she's had to switch all her stuff over. My job is we don't know if we're going to be able to do it. Like, they're kind of like upscheduling all of our jobs because we don't know if the government's going to come down and shut that down. So it's been pretty radical. I mean, basically the world is being shut down. Like, how can you avoid that?
Giovanni, as a single man and a college student, how's it affecting you right now?
It's affecting me because, it's affecting me because it's affecting everyone else. So it's a situation where I'm just kind of being observant and watching other people overreact, but at the same time, wonder if they're really overreacting, because it's affected so many different people. But it's affected me because it's it's people going on unemployment, so it's affecting people's finance. It's affecting just a lot of different things. But I believe that
do you think
it's a lot to learn. It's a lot to learn. Oh, it's definitely serious.
We don't know if we're going to be able to do it.
It's a lot to learn. Got a lot to learn through it all.
Okay, Gregory, what is it that you personally know about the virus right now?
I've been following this pretty closely just because I follow the news a lot, and not just CNN and MSNBC. I watch.
What are you seeing?
So I followed the whole the outbreak that happened in China 4 months ago, and it was a big deal, and how it affect Korea, how it affect all the neighboring countries, what they did about it, and how it affected world markets. And I've been kind of surprised that we haven't reacted, but we started reacting seriously in the last week when it really started affecting Europe.
Do you think, okay, I've heard some conspiracy theories that this has been man-made. That's the first one that comes across, and that it's a man-made virus. What do you hear about them containing the virus?
People always come with the conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And in general, I think that it's in a person's best interest to discount listening or entertaining conspiracy theories unless they got some serious reason to, because they just never end. They just never end.
What have you heard about people and what they say that the Bible says about this? In the last days?
Yeah, pretty much. I just hear there's a form of pestilence, and I believe that as well. So I don't really hear a lot because people don't tend to express that. Mm-hmm. So it's just something that you just kind of know.
What do you hear, Greg?
Like I said, when it comes to conspiracy theories and stuff like that, like, I've trained myself to just not pay attention, because who's saying that? Like, so I don't see the value. What's the upside of, like, really buying?
Do you think people should be staying in? I do believe we might have a caller coming in now.
Hey, caller, go ahead.
Hi, yes, I'm calling regarding the coronavirus.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay, I had come in contact with someone who was possibly got infected with the coronavirus. What happened was she came up to me and she had a mask on. And she wanted some information, which I gave her. But she took the mask off and she started coughing. Well, I was really upset about that. But she had her hand over her mouth, but I knew that wasn't good. But so she sat down. And in the meantime, somebody contacted me because they realized that the person was in front of me and said that this person had signs of coronavirus. She had the symptoms, and that she tested negative for the flu, which is not good because this is not the flu. I mean, why would you have a cough and a fever? I mean, nowadays it's just like if you test negative for the flu, then I know it's only 3% of people who test positive for the coronavirus who come that be tested. But her tests were still pending, which meant I could possibly be infected with it if it comes back positive. So my thing is, whenever you're out in public, always wear a mask.
For sure.
Try and stay away from large crowds, and you always have to be aware of where you are. So my suggestion is to, when people go out in public, make sure it's not a large crowd. I mean, you have to be proactive with this. And if you see someone in a mask, try to stay at least 6 feet away from them. I know it's not always easy to do, but it's even better if you try to stay in the house, to tell you the truth. But keep your hands washed. Stay away from large crowds. If you have to go out, wear a mask.
All good. Can I ask you a question, caller?
Sure.
When did you find out, and what do you know about the nature of the spread of the virus?
It's by droplets. So which means it's in the air, and it can stay in the air in that area for 3 hours. It can stay on cardboard for 24 hours. On metal for, I think metal is for like days.
Oh, wow.
But I know that it stays stagnant for a while.
Yes.
So that's what makes it so much more contagious than the regular flu. I mean, it spreads much quicker. And then the bad part about it is there is no cure.
Yeah.
So it reaches your esophagus first, and then it works its way down to your lungs, which causes pneumonia. So that's what makes it, people at the beginning try to say, oh, this is nothing but the flu, but it's not.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that you can do. I mean, people are affected in certain ways. Some people may just get a fever. Some people may just get nothing.
Yes.
But but you still don't know.
Caller, are you told to voluntarily what is it called when you make yourself away voluntarily?
Quarantine?
Do you voluntarily quarantine yourself, or were you forced to stay home? Are you voluntarily?
Oh, I voluntarily stayed home because I don't have any symptoms. I mean, if you think about it, we all could have been exposed at one point or another, being out in the public.
Without knowing.
So you don't know. So by me not having symptoms, I can still go out. I will wear a mask.
Yeah.
That would make me feel better wearing a mask. And if I have to be out somewhere and, in public, I still would not go into large crowds. But I will wear a mask from here on in. And I will not get tested, and they won't even test me unless I have the symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big problem about the availability of the tests. Like, there's no real way to know how many people have it yet because we really just amped up the testing. And we haven't come up to the point where they can get to the point where people just based off of curiosity or whatever, unless you fit into some type of risk group that you actually get to take the test. Is that right?
Yeah, well, see, right. And the thing is, if you just have a fever, that's not bad. It's when you get the cough, that's when you should be concerned.
Well, I do want to encourage you because, first of all, it encourages me to know that you're paying as much attention that you have, or much awareness that you have, but at the same time,
Yeah.
you can also spread that to
And
others.
I just want the public to be aware that they really have to be aware of what's going on. I mean, and be nervous, be concerned. I mean, overreact by putting masks on your face anytime you go out. Or staying out of large crowds, or just don't go out as often. I mean, try to avoid the restaurants, try to avoid the big grocery packed stores, go early in the morning when it's not busy, if you have to go. But you have to, this is something really, really serious, and people have to take it serious because the hospitals aren't even accommodated. They don't have the tools and the equipment to handle such a mass amount of people.
Yeah.
So some of these patients are end up going to nursing homes just to accommodate just to have the room.
Wow.
So it's like, so people have to really, really take this serious.
Well, we thank you so much for your call. So much valuable expertise, and you have a blessed day. Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Okay, you guys stay safe and have a blessed day.
All right.
You too.
Thank you. That was very interesting.
That is interesting. I think it's a few facts about this this virus that I think Americans have a tendency to be super confident. Because we live in a country that's far away from other countries. We don't have a memory of being attacked, or like we have this thing of safety.
Things for granted.
Yeah, we feel like we're
granted.
part of the most powerful country ever, so everything's just going to be good. But this virus, although we don't know how deadly it will be, and there hasn't been, I think up to date, there's been 10,000 fatalities and about a quarter of a
worldwide.
Yeah, and worldwide, 10,000 fatalities, quarter of a million people confirmed have coronavirus. But the problem with that is that in our country, we haven't barely tested anyone.
So you're saying,
that's the one thing. Like, you cannot know when we're not even. If you wanted to get tested, you cannot.
we don't have the equipment.
You cannot go get tested. We just now getting around to being able to know. Like, we can't even know what percentage of people actually the fatality. There's not a large enough sample size unless you go to other countries.
Okay, I got a question. Now, I was actually heard a press conference in relation to the White House, and Trump the president did say that you could receive free testing. So if you can receive free testing, how come there haven't been a lot of testing?
They don't have enough test kits. That's been a problem.
Yeah. The president is unreliable. He's unreliable. He said that a week ago when they knew we didn't even have physical tests. So like in the last 72 hours, we finally got, for the vast majority of this thing until earlier this week, we hadn't even tested 1,000 people. So we're up to like 60,000 people, and all of that is in the last few
millions
days.
of people in America.
And we got 330 million people.
That's
So without that much testing, there's no way of making an accurate assessment on how many people are infected, that in order to be able to treat it.
Yes, I mean there's people that have it. Everybody's not going to die. So there's people that have it who do not know, and if they showed symptoms, if they went to the doctor would say you're not risky enough. So then they go into, and so like, the main thing about this whole contagion that it shows to me is that something that's super problematic about American society, which is that most young adults who are working class, middle class, they don't have health insurance. Right? Like, we're not even set up for people if they had symptoms, and if we had a test, that they would go get the test. Like, people in our country, if they're sick, they go to work because they don't want to pay that cost.
Well, what about the bill that was just passed recently about the relief? does that include a free test? I mean, or I know there was a bill that was just passed about the relief.
I don't know. I've heard that President Trump has said from the beginning that he would have free testing, but the question has always been about the treatment, right? Mm-hmm. So right now it's not available anyway. So even if you say it's free testing or if it was free treatment, you can't go get they're going to triage you. Like they just opened up, we have our own test here at Cleveland Clinic, just started a few days ago, and the amount of people that came out, they ended up coming up because it was like a 3-mile long line at Cleveland Clinic. Yes, and what they did was they triaged it and said if you got to be 60 or over if you got symptoms in order to get the test. So it's not wildly available anyway. And we're still talking about testing. We're talking about testing, which is just a data point analysis, knowing who did. We're not talking about treatment, right? And it's not even available. So that's the thing. Like, our country's got to we should at least be testing. We should at least know how many people have it.
So we're behind the cuff big time.
We're big time behind. That's the reason why I think that people should be super worried, because that's what happened to Italy. And that's what happened to what's happening in Spain right now, and they got 400 people dying daily. And what I fear is what's happening in the United States. It's just we're 2 weeks behind that curve. Mm-hmm. Like, whatever spread that they had, it's spreading here now, and we'll get the dying at mass proportions as it gets to a certain level of saturation. And I heard that at some experts that were trying to cajole Trump to actually take this thing seriously think that at this point at least between 40 and 70% of American people will have coronavirus.
Well, I believe it. If they've called us a national emergency, that we are in a pandemic experience right now. Okay, you can't get no higher than pandemic. Okay, yeah. So it's out of control, and they're trying to get a handle on it. We don't have a handle on it. And from what I was reading earlier today, and it was just stating that in America right now, we have had 121 deaths, and yet we haven't even had a good 100,000 people tested, and we're getting a lot of deaths.
We've had 60,000 people tested as of today.
So we are very much behind the 8 ball, and if you don't even know that it's there, okay? Yeah. It's probably there.
Yeah, and just as a frame of reference, in South Korea, they've tested over 300,000 people. And they're poorer than us. They're poorer than us, but their population is like 50 million. So our population is over 6 times, like 7 times as big. So basically, if you're in South Korea, you're over 30 times as likely to have been tested. So like, we're really behind the thing when it comes to the testing. We really got to get testing. Because there's like no knowledge of what it is. We're all kind of guessing around. But if it is super easy to catch, we need to get to a point where we actually can test people. Because if it's in all 50 states and no one's been tested, that means that basically what's happening, people are coming to the hospital darn near dying.
Probably. And they're being
and then finding out after they pass or whatever that they got coronavirus.
The coronavirus, the seriousness of the coronavirus right now is the way that they go from it is traveling fast throughout the body. Okay. Yep. And people are dying quickly. It's not like it's a prolonged death for some people. And they were talking about the more frail people, asthma, people that have already predetermined illnesses.
High risk
people, seniors, babies, people that have respiratory illnesses already. Now, I'm not going to get off without telling you all how do you prevent the spread.
Okay, before you get to that real quick, I also don't want to exclude the younger people too, that it's also for smokers and for people that drink excessively can be affected by this virus as well.
Yeah, why do you think that is so?
No, that's because that's what I heard from some of the specialists and the experts. I know it's definitely more geared towards people that are elderly, but I just wanted to also mention that as well, because a lot of spring just. I'm also a student, and spring break just passed. The governor of Florida had to cancel and shut all the beaches down because kids are out there still partying by the thousands, and just probably a lot of spread there.
Wow.
Because they feel good they're immune. So that's why I want to mention that we're not immune. There's still some young people that could be affected, and
Yeah, and the problem is that the young people, you can carry the disease and not even have symptoms, and you can give it to somebody who does have symptoms. So that's the threat. Even though, like, being a younger person or somebody that's not in a high risk category, well, then you go visit grandma. You go visit your parents. You go visit your cousin who's got some. You can spread it with no things. That's what I'm saying. In our country, we got to come to grips with how many people actually have it, because everybody's not going to get sick. I mean, I don't actually feel like if I got it, I would even get sick. But nonetheless, I am in intimate relationships with people who have situations. My wife's parents, my parents, and things like that. So, like, in order to insulate them from risk, and knowing that this is a thing, I'm saying we're all going to see out in the wash what actually happens. It's affecting the world. Obviously, every stock market is down. We're looking at a global depression, or at least
So
a
you think
serious.
it's an economic problem about to happen too?
It's been happening. The stock market. Donald Trump's presidency has been known as being very strong for people who own stock.
Right.
He's lost all of that.
Wow.
That's all gone. So we're back to and that's the reason why, because the economy is global. We get most of our stuff. Walmart is stocked with stuff from China.
And Thailand.
And so if they have to shut down the factories, that affects us. We see the gas prices all super cheap all of a sudden. I wonder why, because the whole world is shut down. I mean, this is a major deal, and there's no getting out of it.
Now, did y'all notice that today they said that they are so determined to try to get this thing in charge, so now we're about to send out National Guards to certain cities to make sure people are staying in. That's frightening to me.
I think the average day person who I worry about are working people that they say over 60% of our country is $400 away from catastrophe. So they couldn't afford a car breakdown. They don't have any savings. So already people are losing their jobs because everything's shut down. The economy is in huge collapse. And what we're seeing now is from even President Trump today, they're going to send out checks. They're talking about universal basic income for the first time, just giving people checks because they know that the economy is going to be shut down for several months. And
$1,000 per person.
Shutting down evictions?
Yes.
The president shut down evictions, and a Republican president shut down evictions. And I mean, this is a projection on what the impact that it's going to have on our daily lives.
Well, I heard that they also made the public utility companies hold off on payments as well.
Yeah, in certain localities.
It's all really frightening because it hasn't come into total fruition, so we really don't know what we're going to be up against. But it's like you can watch the domino effect, how it's not getting better.
Well, the timing is so because we got the election coming up.
Right, the big presidential election.
Right, and then you said the National Guard, and this is the first time I've heard that myself.
Yes,
but I know people, are kind of in panic mode. I've been hearing references to martial law and that kind of thing. And, if that's the case, it still also points back to the negativity of the presidency and the administration. Because there's been constant, and if you know me personally and my personal view, I haven't been one quickly to be critical in a negative way, because I've been listening to the criticism, but now in this case, with this type of pandemic that's going
Yes.
on and the seriousness, it's still pointing to his presidency, and people are going to be looking for something different, I believe.
Yeah.
So just the timing of all of this is just
It's a lot. I'll tell you what, the president can't be blamed for the fact that there is a pandemic, but he is responsible for the response. And the one thing that I want people to know is that this didn't just start last week. This is a pandemic that's been in the works and in global news for at least 4 months. All right, and so I do believe that he holds some responsibility, but at this point, we got to move forward, and as a country, we have to be responsible for each other. And I would hope that people would pay a lot more attention to global news, not just your MSNBC and your CNN, independent news sources that deal with the global world, because we are interconnected, and what happens at some corner of the planet can come home to affect your daily life.
I agree with you there, and they also need to pay attention to, because this was predicted thousands of years ago, and a lot of stuff is happening in concert with one another. I don't think this is coincidence, and just paying attention, because like I said, this is predicted thousands of years ago, and for it to happen, and obviously we're witnessing it, so we can't just act like we don't see it. It's something that was predicted.
Well, Greg and Giovanni, I want to thank you all for your input. It made me feel so much better just to know more things that I hadn't heard or didn't know. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm asking you all to be prayerful and to really pay attention to the information you're getting. Wash your hands, cover your face, cough in your sleeve, and be conscious of your neighbor. Check in on your neighbors. Have a blessed day.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple more things. Social distancing, they recommend that you try to stay at least 6 feet away from people, right? Washing your hands for 20 seconds every single time. And just knowing the certain stuff, like this seems to be a very resilient virus, and we don't know for a fact, and we won't know until it's all over. But we have a responsibility to try to keep our kinfolks and those that we love alive.
You get the last word, Giovanni. What do you want to say?
Jesus is coming, and we all love you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. God bless you all.
That was good.
That was a good word.